You're familiar with hooking, right? No, not that kind of hooking. Not that kind either. Rug hooking. It's all the rage! Or at least it was 200 years ago. While I was testing all of those rug making methods a few weeks ago, I actually tested something that I ended up cutting from the video. The puppy's down here, that's why I'm sitting weird. Mostly because I was trying to keep the video under an hour long, but also it was kind of just unrelated because it didn't really look super mossy, and so it didn't end up on my very complicated chart. However, it was super cool, and it immediately made me want to do a project. So, rather than me explaining it to you again right now, let's just go back to past Charlie and have her explain it to you. Make use of all that footage I cut out. Before I try some, more mossy samples of this, I did want to just mention, I got a second tool when I was prepping for all of this, and this kind of falls under the category of rug hooking. It's from Ragged Life, and it's basically just this spring-loaded stabby tool. You put it under the fibers of fabric, grab a piece of fabric, and pull it back through. And you're using like shortened, already cut pieces of fabric for this to make what I believe they call like froggy style rug hooking. I think there's a lot of names for it. And it seemed like this was more commonly done in the UK, or potentially only done in the UK, but you're making this like shaggy, I think they also call it shaggy style. I did some samples of it yesterday, one with fabric, which is normal, and then I did a yarn sample just to be like, can you do it with yarn? You can. I don't think it works super well with yarn because you have to use fairly long pieces in order to just make it work. If you were using really short ones, it would be difficult and kind of useless. It'd be easier to do latch hooking. But I just wanted to mention it because it's a cool style and a cool, like, separate tool. I think the fabric version is so fun, and I really want to do a project with this. So keep an eye out. That might be happening soon. I have so many fabric scraps, and I would love to do something with them like this. Yeah, so when I looked upon this sample, I think mainly because of the color palette, but also there's something about like the shaggy, fluffy look. My brain went straight back to my childhood. This feels like something that I would have seen in a PB teen catalog or like the American Girl magazine. And maybe it was just a giant wave of nostalgia taking over my cognitive reasoning, but lampshade. I really want to make a lampshade with this method. And hey look, I just so happen to have an old cheap lampshade that's been floating around our house since like, New York, I think? Where's the base for it? I don't know. Don't ask me such things. So my thought is that I could just cover this because this rug hooking style is done on like a burlap, so I could just cut out the proper shape, hook it all, and then I could literally glue it on here. But I like to avoid using glue. But I feel like it would be even better if I could take this off and just use the frame itself. It's one of those frames though where there's nothing holding the top and bottom together except like the hard shell of the stuff. Good words. Yeah, and it's glued to that. So if I were to rip the fabric off of here, I would have two separate pieces, the top and the bottom, and I would have to come up with some way to reattach them. So I do think the better solution is just to cover the existing frame. Yeah, new question. Where did I put the burlap? I know I had leftover. I put it in the closet. I put it in the fabric closet. Of course I did. There it is. Is that a spider web? No, it's a thread. We're all good. Let's do this on the floor. I love a good floor. Burlap is pretty shifty, so I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to cover this, but I don't want to cut out the exact shape right now. I definitely want some space around the outside to like hold on to it. So I really just want to draw on the shape that I need with a Sharpie. Okay, that's definitely not like great, but I feel like it's enough for me to start with. I can kind of start from the center and work outward and keep testing it. Y'all remember the whale, right? The whale with so many good name suggestions from you that I never ended up choosing one. He used to hold all of my most recent fabric scraps that like still needed to be reorganized into all the separate places that I have fabric scraps. But now he holds a bunch of stretch fabric that came from my scraps, cut into long, thin strips. Why are these here? Why are they pre-cut and ready to go like this? I don't want to talk about it. And definitely don't look behind the chair for half-finished projects I abandoned a year ago. Hey, I said don't look. I kind of want to do like a wavy, expanding color sort of line. Like I like this idea with the colors expanding outward from the center. And then if that was like a wavy-ish thing around the whole lamp, that could look pretty cool. So I could kind of do this one color at a time. Either way, I still gotta cut up some strips first. While I'm doing that, let's chat about something near and dear to my heart. Coffee, because this video is sponsored by Trade Coffee. If you've been around the channel for a bit, then you'll know that I start each of my mornings with a delightful mug of black coffee, brewed here at home, pour-over style. And I really like trying different roasters, different types of coffee, but I run into a bit of an issue there. Almost every time I've pulled a random bag off the grocery store shelves in an attempt to branch out, I've ended up not liking that coffee. And coffee is way too expensive to be wasted, so then I just have to use the whole bag anyway. Trade Coffee starts you off with a little quiz to find out what your taste preferences are, and then they select a bag for you from one of the many hidden gem roasters they partner with across the country. I was honestly a little bit skeptical, but they sent me El Salvador from Drink Coffee Do Stuff. Thanks, I will. And y'all, I love it. It's got the smooth, comforting, not too bitter flavor that I personally prefer in my coffee. And finally, I am thrilled to use a whole bag of new-to-me beans. Every bit of a Trade Coffee subscription is personalized, from your taste profile to your bag size to the frequency of delivery, and they make it really easy to update those preferences, pause, or cancel at any time. If you could use some assistance finding a great coffee that you'll love, then click the link in the description to get 30% off your first coffee subscription. And remember, if your first bag isn't a hit, Trade replaces it, no questions asked. Thank you to Trade Coffee for sponsoring this video, and back to it we go. I very much enjoy the color palette of my little sample, and I just so happen to have a lot of scrap strips in various purples and blues. Almost like those are the colors I gravitate towards a lot. So I started by pulling all of those out just to make sure that I have plenty to choose from here. This seems like plenty, having absolutely no experience to base that assumption on. And I'm actually going to start with exactly the same layout that I used before, this textured teal stuff surrounded by the glorious orchid of my oh-so-favorite winter hoodie dress. Might as well harvest the little bits from this sample. And y'all, this technique really couldn't be simpler. I think I already explained it at the beginning in that bit from the previous video, but just in case I didn't, I'll do it again. You stick the tool through some fibers, grab the piece of fabric, and pull it back. Once these start getting all packed together, it'll be a lovely little scrappy fluffy texture. There's my first line there. I think I'm gonna get better results if I go ahead and attach this to the lamp now. If I do like a lashing method, then the fabric itself will not be like held down onto this. So I should be able to still get the tool through it and literally like build this up on the actual lamp. And I think that'll just end up looking better in the end because I'll be able to like match up the edges and everything. So many I thinks in there. I need some clips. Actually, yeah, I wonder if I could just clip this whole thing on here. And then I would be not committing to it so hard in case it doesn't work. Okay, see, that works. And also, it's probably a good idea to do that because, you know, now I just found out that I have a big pleat that I need to put here, and this was almost going over the edge. I think it is better to do it on the actual frame. In theory, let me check if I can still, yeah, I can definitely still do this. I mean, it might be a little bit harder in some places to get this under than it would be if it was like flat in my lap. And also, you know, I'm now working on a giant round thing, but it's not that much harder. Yeah. Cooperate. And in theory, the whole thing will be so fluffy that you will not be able to see any part of the burlap. So there's the pleat held down pretty well. And then I just want to do that same thing to the blah, blah, blah. I don't have words today, y'all. To the seam. Cutting it a little bit close here at the end, as in literally I cut it too close. Why? I don't know. Burlap falls apart so easily that if you sew too close to the edge and then pull it, you're just gonna completely undo the material itself. But I think we can get by with that. So much panting. I think someone's been laying in the sun. Are you a warm? Oh, big yawn. Yo, I don't know if it's the fabric scraps or the burlap, but something is like setting off my allergies, I guess. I keep sneezing and my nose is running. I think it might be the burlap. Do people have this reaction if you ever work with burlap where your nose just instantly starts running? But okay, I think this is going to be way better to get like proper good coverage. And I did this when I had just a few of these left over so that I can go in and fill in any areas around the gap and stuff. But then we carry on. And hopefully it's not really hard to do that while on the frame. I'm sure it'll be fine. I definitely think that using stretch material or wool, if you want to go like fancy, is the best way to go with this technique, just because if this was any sort of fraying fabric, there would be fraying everywhere. It would just kind of be a mess. I love how so many of my projects recently are kind of just odes to previous projects because I'm using my scrap fabric in so many of them. Speaking of which, next up, I think I'm gonna do this color, which is my oh-so-favorite jumpsuit. And it hasn't been too bad to do it on the lamp because I'm just resting it in my lap like this. It works, not a problem. I really want to know how many of you have ever heard of rug hooking prior to my last video where I talked about it, prior to watching anything on this channel. It was such a new thing for me. It had just never crossed my path in the world of crafting before, which I always find intriguing. How dare a craft try to elude me? You can't do it. I will find you out. Hello? Oh, we're just gonna clean our face in my piles of fabric? That's great. I think we should all start rolling around on the floor and rubbing our faces on carpet after we eat a meal. It looks very enjoyable. I did do a very slight amount of research on rug hooking because I was just interested to know where it came from. I, read a Wikipedia article. Wikipedia, the new best place to get information because it's actually put there by human beings. And it looks like some people do claim that this, general technique goes all the way back to Vikings or something, which, it very much could. The idea of pulling fibers or fabric of some kind through a backing. Sure. That could go all over the place. It could be a thing in a lot of different cultures. It's one of those things that it's like, that's logical, so it wouldn't be that surprising for it to be quite broad in where it started. But as far as a date that actually, has proof, it's the early 1800s is what they said as far as rug hooking becoming a thing. And they said that at the, wool mills, there were leftover pieces of wool, which were called thrums, and were 9 inches long. That's decently long. That would like fall onto the floor and just, they would be excess or waste from the processes. And so the people who worked in the mills would take that trash, or what would be trash if nobody used it, and they would pull it through burlap to make rugs. Because of course, like, rugs were pretty expensive back then. Everything being handmade, fibers costing a lot more. Rugs were like kind of a luxury for rich people. So this was a way that you could make yourself a rug using basically trash. Like the burlap was from feed bags or potato sacks, grain bags, stuff like that. So it really does have very humble beginnings. And I love crafts like that because they look so cool and they work perfectly well. And people got crafty and creative to go like, how can I make myself that thing over there that I can't afford? Which I think is the very like core of craftiness, is getting creative to solve a problem. And that problem is often, I can't afford this certain thing, so how can I make it myself? Anyway, that's not like a real or official history of rug hooking, but that is what I found on a Wikipedia article, so I thought I'd share it. Does anyone know of like a book or something with more history? I kind of feel like there's maybe not one, because that's the thing with Wikipedia, is they're pretty good at finding resources to put the information on Wikipedia. And I even finally went down to the Central Library in LA yesterday, because they are supposed to, well, not supposed to, they have a really big collection of craft books there. And I looked through like all of the, you know what I should have done is looked through the actual rug making section more thoroughly. I did like glance over the rug making section and I didn't see anything about rug hooking specifically. I more specifically was looking at the needlework section, and I did actually see a book in that section about rug hooking, but like so many books in the crafty sphere, which like this is fine, I just wish there was more. So many books in the crafty sphere are like, here's how to do the thing and here's patterns for the thing, which is great. We need those books, but those books very rarely actually include any form of like history or cultural relevance or any like actual research, which of course we all know that like all of these art forms and crafts that were labeled women's work are very poorly researched to start with. So that's not that surprising, it's just sad. I wish there was more research on all of these incredible crafts. Yeah, this color is looking great on here. But all of that to say, I only saw that one book and it was a small one and it was pretty old and it basically told you, here's how to do the craft and here's patterns for it. So if anyone knows of like a history book about rug hooking or some form of, historical discussion that includes information on rug hooking, let me know. I'd love to read it. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but oh god, my leg is falling asleep. There is like some incredible artwork that is done with rug hooking, more the like pulling through method rather than this scrappy one, but like people make incredible artwork, detailed artwork with that method. It is so cool. Gotta love how the world just absolutely reveres painting, but then, if you can quilt or embroider or lace make or rug hook something just as detailed and gorgeous, it's like, oh, cute, what fun. But we're not gonna put it in the Louvre. It's not painting. I have too many feelings on this to go into it. Let's just get back to the hooking, shall we? After 5 rows, stuff was getting pretty packed together, kinda too much so. I'm not gonna go back and redo it, but it's almost so packed together that you're starting to lose the central line color. The fluff is fading away because it's too squished. Typical for me, I do things with intensity, whether that's gripping a pencil like I wanna crush it, or packing in as many lines of yarn in a single space as possible. I'm gonna spread stuff out a little as we continue here. Boo! Did I scare you? That was really funny in my head for some reason. Oh, that's a big sneeze. I'm super duper in the mood for brown butter tahini lemon shortbread. Not like this is a thing I've made before or I have a recipe for. It just seems like a really good combination. It sounds delicious. Somebody has to have made this already. There has to be a recipe somewhere on the internet. Hi! Brown butter tahini lemon shortbread. Tahini shortbread from the lemon apron. But I want the lemon to be in the shortbread. That shouldn't be that hard. That would just be adding zest. I'm gonna use this recipe from the lemon apron. That's just tahini shortbread. But I'm gonna brown the butter first, and then I'm gonna add lemon zest. Let's do it! Or more specifically, let's just start it, because I'm just gonna have to go brown the butter for now. Yeah. Oh dear. That doesn't look right. Apparently you cannot just replace the butter in a recipe with brown butter. It doesn't work that way. So in case anybody did not know that, now you do. I do as well. Hooray! In other news, I finished the lampshade. I did go ahead and finish the inside with hot glue. I know I rarely use hot glue, but in this case with the burlap, it was kind of the best / only thing to do. It was just hot glue down the edges, and then I covered it with some bias tape so that it looks better. But yeah, it was just starting to fray and disintegrate a bit too much at the edges. So my original idea of like lashing the two sides together was seeming a little too risky. It's fine. It does need a little bit of trimming here and there, but I also want to see what it looks like with light behind it. So, what if we steal that guy for now? Thievery. Oh wait, this is a totally different type of lampshade. That's not how that works. This is the kind that sits underneath the light bulb. I forgot this guy has a twin that still exists in full form with a base. Look at that. I was gonna have to figure out how to make a base for this thing, but I guess I can just use this base and that guy can go to sitting on the shelf where this one used to be. Perfect. Ta-da! And I feel like the light is not gonna come through super well. This is a lot of fabric to have put between the light bulb and my eyes. Yeah, I don't think the light is coming through at all. Like, obviously it's lighting up from above and below, but if I like look at the material here, I'm seeing nothing. Oh yeah. There is no light coming through this fabric. So is this the best idea for a lampshade? Maybe not, depending on what you feel the purpose of a lampshade is. It's definitely shading. Anyway though, I do want to trim it a bit. Double lamp. I gotta stop making lampshades. And by I gotta stop, I mean I'm not gonna stop. I think some variation is okay, but you can just see like single pieces that are sticking out further in some places. And I think a more even texture is preferable. I'm really glaring at this, aren't I? This is not that intensive work. My face just wants to be in this position right now. And I shan't question it. That works. No. Now it works. I don't know how I feel about it from all the different angles. I'm back here with you guys, looking at it from a far distance. I feel like over here, this line of bright turquoise is too bright for everything else. And then above that, it's too many dark things altogether. That's okay though. It was an experiment and I was using my scraps. Also, I think this is my favorite side. So I'll just put this side in front. Go! Yeah, that right there. I like this little curve down at the bottom. And I guess at this point, I would normally, like, show you fancy footage of it, which, like, sure, let's cut to that right now. Okay, cool, that's done. And then normally this would be the end of the video, but here's the thing. I have a, redaction. Yeah, that's the right word. For something I said in a previous video. Come with me. So when I tried rug hooking, which I believe was only a couple weeks ago now, I was saying how this rug hook was kind of expensive for what it is, but it looks almost exactly the same as a crochet hook, on the end at least. So like, you could probably do rug hooking with a crochet hook, and I totally wanted to try it, but I didn't have a crochet hook, so I couldn't. Turns out I'm just terrible at looking. I have 2 crochet hooks, which I kind of knew that I had, or at least I knew that I had them at one point, and I was very confused as to why I couldn't find them. I must have given up immediately. They weren't in the same container with the knitting needles, and so I was like, that's it, they don't exist. I'm pretty sure in a video that isn't even out yet, I again repeated the fact that I don't have any crochet hooks. I do, I really do. So because we are already trying out rug hooking stuff in this video, I thought I would take the opportunity to test the thing that I couldn't test before, which is, can you just use a crochet hook to do rug hooking? Ow! I love Q-snap frames, but also I hate Q-snap frames. First thing you'll notice, with very little observation required, is that the hook side of these things all look exactly the same. Like, exactly the same. I think what I heard somewhere was that the top of the rug hook is more pointed than that of a crochet hook. As far as these examples go, nope, those are exactly the same. So the only difference really is like the ergonomic handle, but I'm pretty sure you can get crochet hooks that have more ergonomic handles to them. There is no reason in my mind why this should not work. Now, I will say the 2 crochet hooks that I have, well, that one's actually almost exactly the same size. Teeny tiny bit smaller, this one. This one's significantly bigger, so I don't even know if it'll go through this burlap. It will. It does, but it's like, it's gonna be a problem getting it back through. So this, I think, would only work if you were using like, you'd probably have to be using like latch hook canvas, because this guy is so big. What are you? 6.5 millimeters. This one, on the other hand, it's literally the same. Do you say what you are? 2.5 millimeters. So I'm not really gonna go into what rug hooking is. You can go and watch the previous video where I talked about it. Let's just give it a try. Oh yeah, that's exactly the same experience. Like, the hook is pretty small for such a big chunk of fabric, but you're basically just grabbing some amount of the fabric and getting it to pull through. You don't necessarily have to be fully wrapped around it. I did notice that the Ragged Life, who is in the UK, said that they like wrap the fabric around. Ooh, that is helpful actually. So rather than just like going down and grabbing randomly, they kind of wrap around like that and pull through. But yeah, my verdict is that a crochet hook works just as fine as something that's actually sold as a rug hook. So if you want to do some rug hooking and you already have a crochet hook, go for it. All you really need to get is some burlap if you don't already have that, or anything else with a, you know, very open, loose weave. And then use your fabric scraps, use your yarn scraps. I do think this is a little too thick for this. I might cut this guy. Oh, that's satisfying. In half, because now I kind of want to make something with it. I like this rainbow fabric. What could I make? Maybe like little coasters? This isn't really part of the video anymore, but you know what? Let's cut to whatever I've made. I made coasters. I did one of these entirely with a crochet hook and one of them entirely with the rug hook, and yeah, there was like absolutely no difference. If anything, I think I actually found the crochet hook a little bit easier to hold on to, but even then, like just slightly. I'm really happy that I have rug hooking, both versions of it, the, I guess, normal version and the scrappy version. I don't know if they have technical names, but both versions are just in my arsenal now. I love having an arsenal of crafty abilities. It's a really fun technique. It creates such a cool texture, both this kind and the scrappy kind. I don't feel like going to get the lamp. You remember. I hope you do. It was like, I don't know, 3 minutes ago? Yeah, I might be exploring this further in the future, but for now, I feel pretty satiated on rug hooking. It's punch needle that I'm very much still in the mood to try some more of. There is so much nonsense happening in our neighborhood right now. And by nonsense, I mean noise. Did we just all get together and decide to do yard work and construction today at the same time? I gotta go put on headphones or something. Try to ignore all of the banging. Later, taters. I haven't said that in a long time. But as far as actually having proof, words. Slobbery today. Why are you wet? I'm salivating. Ew. Good lord. Ooh, exciting.